What is up, everyone? My name is Liam and welcome back to another video. As some of you guys know, I ended up crashing that car over there, my 2008 Mazda 3 hatchback. And what I did was, well, I bought another 2008 Mazda 3 hatchback. But unfortunately, as with any used car you get, you're going to have a couple issues. And one of the issues that this car has is that it's idling far too low. This car usually sits around 700 RPM at idle, normally. But as you can see right here, we're sitting at about 500 RPMs, and I've seen it dip all the way down to 450, and it's far too low. Now, this could be caused by many reasons, but mainly when it comes to these Mazda 3s, it ends up being the throttle body most of the time. Now, what happens is you get carbon buildup on the throttle body over time, and it'll screw up the throttle position sensor that's located within the throttle body. Now, the normal fix is to take some throttle body cleaner and clean the throttle body. You take it off and clean it. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is just swap the throttle bodies between the two cars, because that car right there has a throttle body that is only, 3 years old. So, I mean, you might as well, This one's been on the car since it was new. I replaced that one to get rid of a code, and it ended up fixing the idle as well. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just swap them over. So in this video today, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. It's actually very, very simple. I've got a car right here with an aftermarket intake, and I've got that car right there with a stock intake. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what to do with both of your intakes. It's basically the exact same thing between the two, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you both. So let's go ahead and get started. If you guys can't tell, I've been doing a lot of work swapping parts between the two 3s. There's a lot of modification that I've done to this specific car that I wanted to swap over to the new one. And it may be weird to you guys, but one of the things that I haven't done is swapped the driver's side seats between the two cars. And there's a reason for this. That car right there has a power driver seat, which has a different connector than this manual seat right here. And that really sucks, because I basically have to cut the connector end on that car and cut the connector end on that car and basically splice the wires together between the two connectors. It's fun. It's very fun. I just haven't gotten to it. So ignore that. It looks weird, but anyways, what you're going to want to go ahead and do first is pop your hood, and we're going to go ahead and take the throttle body off of this car first, because this car is not hot. It hasn't been ran in a week or so, so obviously it's not hot at all. Now, for some of you guys, you're going to have a battery cover. Take it off, put it to the side. Some of you guys as well are going to have this. Some people have removed it. If you still have it, you're lucky. But we're going to go ahead and toss that right there. It just slides right out from there once you take the battery cover off. As far as tools go, all you really need is a ratchet, an 8mm. In my case, I have a 5/16 socket because I'm missing my 8mm. But you also need a 10mm right there, and that's virtually it. First up, let's go ahead and disconnect the negative terminal on the battery. I don't really think you need to do this, but for the sake of just in case, might as well. It takes 2 seconds to do. That's what your 10mm is there for, so just move it out of the way and avoid any mishaps that way. Now, there's going to be one of these C-clamps connected right here. As you can see, I have one that is missing because, unfortunately, when I swapped the intakes between the two cars, I broke one of my C-clamps going to the aftermarket intake. So I just said, screw it, and I took one off of this OEM intake, and then I later on got one from a junkyard. So when this goes back on, we'll go ahead and swap that on. But for now, what you would end up doing is unscrewing it with a Phillips head or a 10mm socket, and then you'll just slide this off right there, and we can go ahead and move that out of the way for now. Now, it depends on how lazy you are, but to be honest, you don't have to move the intake out of the way. You can finagle this out of the way without doing that. What I will say is it's a little harder to get to the bolts and whatnot, but it's not the hardest thing ever. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just leave the intake, because that's a couple more steps that you would have to take. That's honestly unnecessary to me. After disconnecting the battery, take a look at the throttle body. Right here is the one connector that goes to the throttle body. What you want to go ahead and do is take your nails and just pull up on that red tab right there. After that, you'll push in right there and pull the connector right off. Super simple. Just move it out of the way for now. Let's go ahead and loosen up all 4 of the bolts going to the throttle body itself. Now this is where your 8mm comes in handy. Okay, so once you get all of the bolts loosened, go ahead and take them out. They are all the same length, so don't worry about getting them mixed up or anything like that. As long as you know where they are, then that's about all that matters. After that, you're going to go ahead and take all the bolts out, and then take pliers and twist this hose until it comes loose, and then just pull it right off. Be sure not to apply too much pressure to that hose. You can tear it. Ask me how I know. But beware, because this is a coolant line for the throttle body. So, you know, just watch out for spilling anything, stuff like that. But we'll go ahead and take this throttle body and move it to the side just a little bit so that we can get access to our other hose clamp, which is right there. You can see it. Okay, so very easy. I got the throttle body out, and like I said, this is only like 3 years old, so that's why I'm transferring it instead of just cleaning the one that's on that car. As you can see, it barely has any carbon buildup, just discolored a little bit, so that's totally fine with me. Let's go ahead and put this to the side and start working on the other car. So this is the new car's engine bay. It's basically the exact same, but with an aftermarket intake. So same process. You'll go ahead and take this off, toss it over there. Take this out, toss it over there. And what we're going to go ahead and do with this car is actually take off the intake, because I mean, it's right there, you know, it's super simple. So let's go ahead and do that. Like I said though, first things first, let's go ahead and disconnect that battery, just in case. Like I said, you never know. And we'll go ahead and take the same 10mm and apply it right here. And we'll put that to the side, and let's go ahead and pop off this intake. And it should be pretty simple, and we're just going to go ahead and lay it on its side, if I can. I'm trying to lay it just like that. That works. Perfect. That way we don't have to disconnect anything. We got easy access to the throttle body that's right there. And if you take a look inside of this one, you can already see just how bad the carbon is. You can see it from the outside of the throttle body, and that is not a good sign. Now, besides the intake, it's the exact same car, so I'm just going to go ahead and take this throttle body off myself, and then we'll get back to the video. So bear with me one moment. Okay, so I've finally got the throttle body off of this car. Kind of sucks because it's still hot from running, but I just wanted to show you real quick just how bad this one is compared to that one. Now, as you can see, it doesn't look too bad from afar, but as soon as you get up close, you can definitely immediately tell the color difference. And when I get up and close and personal to this one, just look at how much carbon is on this throttle body right here. That is a ridiculous amount of carbon. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is clean out this intake right here. As you can see, a little bit of stuff got into it, so I don't want that going into the motor itself, not at all. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just wipe this out real quick, and then we'll go ahead and install the quote-unquote new throttle body and see if that makes a difference. Okay, so this is all that came out of just the entrance to my intake manifold. As you can see, I mean, when I bring it up close, there's some good chunks on this rag. Like, that's that's pretty bad. So what I'm going to have to go ahead and do a little later down the line is take off that intake manifold and either clean it or replace it. Now I have a couple of ideas. They do make some aftermarket intakes for this car, and I think that would be a really cool addition to the engine bay and the engine itself. So if I can find the right one for the right price, then I'll definitely think about doing that instead. But for now, yeah, I had to clean out that entrance. It was caked. It was caked up. Alrighty, so as you can see, I've got the new throttle body installed, quote unquote new. The intake is put back on, and I did the exact same for the car right there. Once you're done with all of that, go ahead and plug in the throttle body, and then put your negative terminal back on the battery, and then we're going to go ahead and enter the car. Now, one thing about Mazda 3s is that you have to do an idle relearn every time you disconnect the battery. It's quite simple. All you do is turn the key onto the on position. We'll go ahead and turn off all accessories, including AC. And we're going to go ahead and just let this sit for about a minute. After that, we're going to go ahead and turn this to the off position and let it sit again for another minute. After that, we'll go ahead and start the car up and let it idle for about 5 minutes before turning any of the accessories back on. So let me go ahead and finish this little sequence, and then we'll go ahead and start up the car. Now that it has been in the off position for another minute, we'll go ahead and step on the clutch, make sure it's out of gear, and we'll start the car up. Now we've got to make sure it idles for about 5 minutes. So while I'm cleaning up all of my supplies, we'll go ahead and let it idle. Okay, I'm just about done picking everything up. What I'm going to go ahead and do is check for any leaks. Now, I don't expect there to be any leaks, but we did mess with 2 coolant lines and we messed with 2 spring clamps. So we want to just go ahead and make sure that nothing is leaking before we start driving. Now, the ticking that you're hearing is my injectors. Should be simple enough. Let me go ahead and get us in here. And as you can see, this line right here is doing pretty good. Go ahead and shove this back there, and as you can see, that's the closest I'll get, but it's not leaking either, so we're doing pretty good so far. Let's go ahead and go inside of the car and see what we're idling at. Right off the bat, it sounds a lot better. It actually sounds like it's idling now versus before. And yeah, we are idling at about 600 RPM, which is great. It's a lot better than what it was. And that's about where we should be idling. Once we turn on AC, that'll bump the idle up. And when I was driving this car, I had a lot of issues with the AC off because it would end up almost stalling out on me when I go to take off. This car is a 5-speed, of course, so you kind of need that little oomph that the idle has to take off most of the time. So it really sucked, but hopefully this fixes it. As you can see, we are doing pretty good. This is exactly the idle that I was looking for. That's the idle that the other car had. So I'm gonna give it another 3 minutes and then we'll come back out, turn the accessories on and mess around, take it for a drive and see if it worked. Okay, so as you can see, I've been letting it idle for about 7 minutes or so while I washed up and cleaned the rest of my stuff up and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and start turning on accessories like AC. And as you can see, it bumps up a little bit. Now, I have automatic accessories such as the headlights and my wipers, as you can see, which is very nice for me. I actually really enjoy that. So yeah, I guess we're gonna go ahead and drive this back home, and I'll go ahead and give you an update when I get there. I made it home, and as you can see, we're still doing pretty good with the RPMs, staying just at where we need to be. I drove without the AC on, and I didn't have any issues bogging or anything like that. So I would say this is a 100% success. If you are experiencing throttle issues with your Mazda 3, where it's idling too low, just about to stall out when you take off, all that kind of stuff, take a look at your throttle body. buy a $7 bottle of throttle body cleaner from the auto parts store that's 0.5 miles away from your house. Take those 4 bolts off. Take it. It's so easy to do. Just do it. Just do it. If you need to replace your throttle body, well, there you go. That's how you do it. It's so simple. It's very easy. Definitely a beginner job if you guys don't really know how to work on cars. Do not go to your mechanic for this job. Don't. It's not worth it. That's an expensive job that you can avoid just by knowing the facts that I told you. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed working on the new Mazda 3. There's a lot more to come with this car, so stay tuned. And with that being said, I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.